How's it going, everyone? Hope you're all keeping well, and welcome back to a new RTA League Racing video here today for round 2 of the Formula V Championship. It's been a couple of weeks since the video for round 1 at Silverstone, so if you have missed that, make sure you check it out. A very good round for myself, one of my best in RTA. But before we get into this race here for round 2 in Brands Hatch, take a quick look at the standings after the opening round. You can see it's Dylan McClemens leading the way there with 84 points over Connor Mealy in second, then Sean McClemens in third, and myself somehow in the lofty heights of P4. So definitely the highest I've been in the standings in RTA, and I know there's only one race gone, said in the previous video that I'm not going to get ahead of myself after the far above normal performance I had there in Silverstone, but still hope I can get a few more good results this season and stay near the top end of the standings come the end of round 8. But then looking ahead to this one, round 2 in Brands Hatch, a track that we were at very recently in RTA towards the end of the MX5 season. So track that a lot of us are very familiar with in the recent past, and just like in the MX5, you can see here the weather that we're expecting. It's going to be raining for the majority of this evening. You can see there qualifying light rain, as with the Constellation race and the feature race. So race 2 and race 3, with race 1 labelled as the heat there in partially cloudy conditions. So definitely going to be a slippery one for the majority of our racing here this evening, and hopefully we can just keep it on the track, and just like I did in the MX5 championship in I think one of the races, just take advantage of others having a few issues and try and keep it clean myself. But with that, let's head into a wet qualifying session. So as I mentioned, very wet here now as we get into quali, and as always slippery conditions mean it's going to be a few issues for a lot of people. There's already somebody off there in Druids and someone else off here, another two people off, as I just managed to stay on the track. Not for long, as I have an issue of my own, the first of many in this qualifying session. Then here another one, not rain induced, just I think it's Robert Fleming there seemed to have a bad run through Druids and just comes on in front of myself and Ross, a bit of impeding there. And then again here, Kevin Joyce just stopped on the racing line heading into turn 3, which isn't the best place to be stopped. Definitely could have just gone off the track to try and get told, but it is what it is. And now I'm on my fastest lap in qualifying, heading into turn 1, downshift into third in these conditions, and then heading down the hill through that puddle, which can catch you out and caught me out a few times in the MX5s, and then into the hairpin turn 2 of Druids, taking a wider line, avoiding the water on the inside, and then my least favourite corner on the track, taking a bit of a tighter line, going through the racing line where it's wet, and then squaring the car off to get the exit onto this mini straight as we head to the final section of the lap. Into the left-hander then, pretty much taking the racing line. It's very slippery though, and managed to hold it together just about, as into the final corner then, taking a bit of a wider line and then cutting back in, getting on the power as early as I can, and coming up to the line then are going to set a 1 minute 2.035, and that was the last lap I was able to do in this quali session. So in the end that put me in P16, so not the greatest qualifying, especially compared to round 1 at Silverstone where I was up in the top 10, but these conditions definitely trickier and ones that I'm not as comfortable with. People who are comfortable with it though is the two McClemenses, Dylan on pole position, just 5 thousandths ahead of Sean, and then Dara Halley in third place, just over a tenth off of those two. So very interesting qualifying there. Like, just for myself, just wasn't able to get the lap together with my own mistakes and people getting in the way for various different reasons. And throughout that qualifying session it actually started to dry out during the middle of it and then get wetter towards the end, and in the drier parts I just wasn't able to get the lap together, and my fastest lap, as you saw, coming on my last lap of the session when the rain was coming back down again. So Feel like there was definitely opportunity for a better lap there, as there always is, but can't do anything about it now. I'm going to have to try and make up for it here in race 1 from P16. So as we wait for the lights to go out here for the first race at Brands Hatch, you can see that the rain has stopped falling from the sky, but as you can see from the spray on the cars up ahead, there is still a good bit of moisture on the track, so not going to be as slippery as qualifying, but still not going to be near our dry pace. And you can see there the water on the bottom of Paddock Bend, so definitely places to try and look out for throughout this lap to see where the water is. But so far, pretty good start, got a good launch as I've seemed to be doing throughout this season so far in these cars. Into turn 4 now, you can see just how slick it looks even on the track. But up ahead there's a car after having the slide, and there's not really much I could have done about it. Must have crashed into, I think that was Kevin Joyce there, because I didn't realise my suspension was broken. Absolute carnage to start off here. And you can see by this angle of my steering wheel there just how much suspension damage I have. I think turning left is pretty okay. Turning one way was pretty alright, turning the other wasn't. And just managed to limp it back to the pits, get the fast repair done and back out onto the track down in, I think now, 21st place. So even after all that, haven't lost a whole lot from where I started, but going to look at a replay of what happened there now. On board with Roland Herderman, and he just makes contact with the car ahead of him. Then Conor Melia couldn't really avoid it. Then behind we have Ryan Evans Johnson, who decides that he sees cars all over the road up ahead, but still going to go flat out for a gap that was more than likely going to close. So a lot of that could have been avoided by a bit more thinking from some drivers, but have to move on from that. Had a bit of a moment there going down the hill into turn 2, so that's allowed Conor Melia, who was involved in that lap 1 carnage as we saw, to catch up to the back of him. And Conor, who I think the only time I finished behind him on pure pace was the races last week, so I usually expect him to be a bit faster than me, so don't put up too much of a fight there, letting him have the inside of turn 1. And he had a bit of a moment there in Druids and didn't look to try and get a move back. Just want to try and follow him for the rest of this race and try and learn as much as I can really for the following two, to try and get some sort of good result out of these rounds. But we managed to kind of stick with Conor pretty well for the most part. You can see here again, just staying behind him. I could have tried to pull alongside there heading into the final 2 corners, but we were slowly catching up on a few of the cars ahead and decided that it would have been better off for the 2 of us to stay line astern, as there's 2 cars making a baby Formula V there on the right hand side by the look of it, so move up 2 places there. But yeah, decided it was better off just sticking behind Conor for now, and maybe if I'm still this close on the last lap or the second to last lap which I'm on now, I could think about maybe having a go. And heading into the hairpin here once again, a car up ahead who seemed to have a bit of a problem, but through here I'm in 4th gear because for most of this race I've been used to shifting down into 3rd in turn 1, and there's a car sideways on the apex of turn 4, so another place there. But yeah, I was just in the wrong gear out of the hairpin of Druids just because we were carrying more speed through turn 1 now with the track drying, so I was in 4th gear rather than 3rd, and just kind of caught me out a bit. But on the final lap here now, up ahead, right in front, you can see Conor had a big slide there through Druids, and we're after being able to get a run on him. We have a look down the inside of turn 3, but just too much water there, and Conor able to carry a lot more speed around the outside, the more ideal racing line in these conditions, and yeah, he was able to power on through and create a pretty big gap, so not able to try and have a move into the final 2 corners. And a very eventful race at the start, and didn't look like much happened for the rest of it, but really good battle there sticking with Conor. I managed to keep it clean for the rest of the race and come home in P18.
There we go.
So yeah, 18th it was then, 2 places down from where he started, and considering everything that happened on the first lap and having to go into the pits, can't be overly disappointed with that. Up at the front, Dylan converting pole to the race win, as he more often than not does. And Travis Stevens, a very good P2 there. Dara Halley holding on to his third place to get a spot on the podium as well. But yeah, really not much more else to say about this race. Just have to try and regain composure, have a good start again, and try and make up for it in race 2. So once again, waiting for the lights. The red lights come on, the revs build up, and the green lights come on, and once again get a really nice start. The back end of our car did kind of wiggle a little bit, but not as much as the cars up ahead, as I think we're 2 or 3 wide heading into turn 1. On the outside line, leaving plenty of room there. I think we go around the outside of one car and just about alongside with Ryan Evan Johnson's there, around the outside of Druids. We're able to carry a lot more speed there. We get a really good run and we're well alongside Evan, heading down into turn 3. Take it nice and easy, but unfortunately there's just a puddle there on the apex and it caused me to aquaplane into Ryan, which is very unfortunate there. We're going to have a look at a replay of that in slow motion. You can see heading into the corner I'm well alongside. I was actually ahead until I broke early just to play it safe heading into here, and there you can see the puddle, and at this point I thought I was going to be okay, but as we played on, the car just didn't turn, just aquaplaned straight into Ryan and sent him off the track into the grasses. Up ahead there was another similar incident, but yeah, very unfortunate there, and I did end up getting a penalty for that collision, which 100% was my fault, and yeah, not really too much defending I can do for myself there with that one. Just unfortunate with how it happened, just hitting the puddle and not having any control of where my car was going, despite going into the corner, taking it nice and easy, so that kind of thing wouldn't happen. It's just one of those incidents that happens in racing, especially in these conditions. But to be honest, that incident did kind of have me rattled a bit for the rest of this race, just thinking about it, kind of knowing that I was going to get a penalty, and kind of made me drive a bit shit for the rest of this race for the most part. Heading into turn 1 here, Dave Collier, he did have a look down the inside of the final corner. He has another look down the inside of turn 1. I end up going off the track a bit, as does Niall up ahead. We're now 3 wide heading into Druids. I go around the outside of Niall, and Dave managed to get past the two of us side by side heading into turn 3, but I'm not going to try and fight it down the inside again. I don't want to cause another identical incident, so I'll back out of that one for now. Hopefully try and get past Dave later on in the race. As we get past, I'm not sure who that was there, looks like they were spun around at the final corner, and then heading into turn 1, someone doing just as I did, hitting that puddle at the bottom of Paddock Hill Bend and going off the track. I nearly done the same thing, nearly followed him, but wasn't carrying as much speed, so I was able to keep it on the track. As up ahead, it's Dave Collier. I don't know what really happened there. There's another track, Sean McClemens, I think, off on the exit of turn 1. And I don't know what happened to Dave there, but he seemed to have hit the wall and bounced back across the track. Don't know how that incident really happened or how he's carrying it up going that direction, but bit of an odd one there. And we managed to gain 2 places. Now we're right up behind Ross Wheatley. As we saw in Silverstone, the slipstream can be very powerful in these cars. Not as powerful here in Brands Hatch as it was in round 1, but still nonetheless it does help, as we managed to get around the outside of Ross. Another car off the track there, but I think that was Jared Burns, who is a lap down, so don't get a position for that, just the one on Ross for now. And we have Adam and Council well within our sights, as Adam gets a poor exit through Druids. We're now side by side heading into turn 3, and very close there to Adam cutting across my front nose, but he judged it nicely and managed to slot in and hold that place. Hopefully for myself he won't be able to hold it for long once again in the slipstream. I'm hoping to try and make the same move as I did on Ross. Adam going for a move on Campos. I think we're 3 wide heading into turn 1. I decide to back out of it to go for a switchback, but Ross doesn't obviously expect me to be going a little bit slower and runs into the back of me. And there's a much bigger crash there as well. I think Campto and Adam ended up coming together, and because of all of that was just after happening, after dropping a good few places, and Dermot Toomey up ahead here now. We managed to get a really nice switch back on Dermot now, side by side heading into the final 2 corners. We do have a bit more speed and we just are ahead, so we managed to cut across there and get that position for now. But as we saw, slipstream is very powerful, so Dermot will be looking for a move back on us. But before we look at that, just going to look at our replay of that incident there, and you can see Ross just hits into the back of me, someone else hits into him then. That's David Bartlett who we're on board with now, and yeah, and up ahead you can see the other 2 cars coming together as well, so could have got 2 places there, ended up losing a couple instead, which isn't ideal. And I wasn't once again able to report Ross for that, which probably would have been a stonewall penalty, just running into the back of someone, but as is usually the case, had to run off right at the end of these races before the incidents were reviewed. And as per RTA rules, you have to be in the Discord to look at the incidents to have your one that you reported looked at. So going into next season, think I'm going to have to rejig my schedule a bit. Maybe it'll mean that I'm able to stay on a little bit longer and be able to report some of these incidents, because I feel like there's a good few things that end up happening to me that would be penalties that if I'd done them I'd be reported and get a penalty for it, and I'm just not able to get them looked at. So have to see what happens with that. But in the meantime, back to this one, Dermot managed to get a nice move on me there on that last lap, and just looking now to try and stay close and make a move back past Dermot into turn 1 there, getting very close, but didn't feel like it was the right time to go for the overtake there. On the exit we get a really nice run, and on board with me now, different camera angle. We did have a look down the inside of Druids, but again, the track is still a little bit damp, so taking the outside line isn't the worst option there, and Dermot is able to carry good speed and get a good exit. But on the next lap we were in the slipstream, and I think I had better gear shift there than Dermot. You could see how he kind of bogged down, so we pulled out to the left hand side, but once again not able to get the pass done. I think that was Dara Halley on the exit there, stopped, so get another move into Druids, going way too wide there. You can go wide when it's a bit damp and carry more speed, but you can't go that wide. As up ahead, 3 cars, one of them is David Prunty, who had a little bit of contact there, so myself and Dermot after getting past, and the 2 of us have been able to catch up to this little group of cars, even though we've been fighting a little bit. And once again having a look around the outside of Dermot, carrying plenty of speed, and we keep it nicely on the track. We get ahead and we cut over to the inside to cover that one, and we managed to get that move back on Dermot. He gets a good exit out of Druids, and heading down into turn 3 he doesn't go for a move there. Dermot, very smart driver, too smart to be going for a silly dive there. He's a bit too far back to try and go for that one. And then on to the final lap. Sean McClemens was after having an incident there, I think, coming back on and coming back very close to the racing line. Luckily I managed to avoid him. We get another place on the last lap, and we come across the line to finish in P11. So 11th in the end then. Very good race after turn 1. You can see there the exclamation mark showing that I did get 15 point penalty for that collision with Ryan Evan Johnson. But other than that, very good race. I was happy with the pace that I had, especially compared to race 1. The drier conditions definitely suiting me more than the wet ones, so I was hoping that the conditions will be much the same for this final race here at Brands Hatch. So hopefully it is, and with that said, let's head into it and see what the weather holds for us. So unfortunately for the final race here this evening, the rain has started to fall again, and the track is going to be a lot damper than it was just a couple of minutes ago for race 2. But once again, 3 out of 3 getting good starts here today. We don't make any positions this time. I think we're side by side with Emma, so we actually get that place. And another one there, someone going off the track. I saw in my mirror Sean McClemens had a great run, so I was looking in the mirror there and hidden to turn 2. I just misjudged the braking slightly and crashed into the back of Kevin Joyce, and losing a lot of places because of that. Not as many as poor Kevin has into turn 3, then just getting on the AstroTurf and going a bit wide, as there's all sorts of carnage once again up here. Coming to nearly a full stop there just so I wouldn't crash into anyone, and because of that Kevin is after being turned around by me and already getting going again. And I saw it was Kevin there behind me, so I decided to let him through just as a kind of a apology for what happened. And heading up the pitch straight here now, I decided that even if I had a run on Kevin, I wasn't going to go for a move again, just as sort of an apology. Try and get myself out of getting a penalty, because definitely deserve one for that incident, and I did in fact get one. Kevin did report that, so somebody going for a spin there. Kevin going off the track as well, someone else off the track up ahead, so we gained 3 spots there between 2 corners. But yeah, I did get a penalty for that incident with Kevin, which is fair. I did think that Kevin might have moved a little bit under brake at the time, but looking back at it, yeah, it was definitely 100% my fault. 2 penalties here in 2 races at Brands Hatch, so not the greatest round for me. Kevin was having a go there around the outside. We managed to hold it for now. Up ahead, Ryan Kuhn after having a spin of his own in Druids, so we managed to get past him there as well. But yet 2 penalties in this round, and as per the RTA rules, 3 penalties in 3 rounds means you get a round ban. So for the next round in Donington, going to have to keep it nice and clean, and then again for the round 4 in Oldham Park, because a penalty in either of those 6 races would mean that I would get a round ban, which I definitely do not want to get. As always, you want to be able to do the race, and you don't want to be seen as someone who's causing incidents and getting round bans because of it, even if they are just little incidents, nothing malicious or anything. They're still incidents nonetheless. And everything that's happened in this race has been my fault, so obviously have to accept the consequences of that. But back to this race now, trying to make up for the disaster kind of that's been since the start of race 2. Getting a move there on David Prunty into turn 1, but David gets a really nice switchback move, and he's side by side with me heading into Druids. Up ahead, Peter Brett decided to defend the inside there, which does help me because it prevented David from being able to brake late and get past me. And into turn 3 then we managed to secure that move on David. There was somebody else off the track as well, so we get another pass done. But once again, David getting a nice switchback, and he's side by side heading into the final 2 corners. He is the inside line, so he decides to back out of it, but he loses the back end and goes for a half spin, and I can't really do anything to avoid it there other than spinning back around the rest of the way. And as you saw there, I thought I didn't make any contact with the back one, but I was a bit scared that I was after hitting him and sending him into that spin, because that would mean I've got 3 penalties probably in this round, and I would have a ban for the next round in Donington. But I didn't make any contact with him, and we did lose a bit of time there. Ryan Kuhn was going slowly there. I don't know if he came out of the pits or what, but I was going to try and defend, and I nearly ended up making it that Kevin ran into the back of Ryan there, but luckily he avoided it. Kevin getting the move done and go a bit wide in turn 3, have a bit of a lock up. That allowed David Bartlett to have a look up the inside, but wasn't any doing there. And having a look at a replay here now with that Prunty incident, and you can see there maybe a bit of net code, but from my end I didn't make any contact with David until he was sideways and I couldn't avoid him. So luckily for me, unfortunate for David there. Yeah, I was glad when I saw the replay there that there wasn't anything I could have done about it, and I wasn't going to get a penalty for it. Once again, wasn't really able to avoid that there. Kevin going off the track, heading down Paddock Hill, and I just kind of followed him there. Ended up hitting into the back of him because he slowed down a bit more than I did, and luckily didn't end up pushing him into the wall or anything. Into turn 3, Kevin pretty much does what I did. As you can see there, just in shock really of everything that's happening in this race. But yeah, Kevin there kind of doing what I did in race 2. Seemed like he aquaplaned or locked up a bit and hit into the back of me. Luckily I didn't get spinning or sent up into the air this time. Kevin ended up getting spun around himself, which is unfortunate for me. Luckily it meant I was able to keep going. Yeah, very eventful race here in Brands Hatch. It felt like it was a lot longer than 15 minutes as Sylvie Barrett gets a move done there down the inside of turn 1. We get a good exit, so we're kind of side by side heading into Druids, but wasn't alongside enough to have a dive down inside of the hairpin. Sylvie's able to carry once again, the person on the outside able to carry good speed and hold the position. He clips the grass a bit there heading into turn 3, and he gets onto the AstroTurf and the curb on the exit, and that is somewhere that has little to no grip in these conditions. As you saw there, he was wiggling at the back end, wasn't able to get a good run, and we managed to get past him. Then a bit later on managed to catch up to Peter Brett directly ahead and Emma Dempsey just ahead of him. In the slipstream I was going to go to the outside there, then Peter kind of moved and I didn't really know where he was going to go, so I had to back out of that one. We did take a wider line on the entry into turn 1 though, meant we got a bit of a switchback move, a better exit, and into turn 2 we are down the inside, fully alongside. And this time on the inside I'm able to get a good exit and get ahead, but Peter gets a good exit and he's alongside into turn 3, and I get the line wrong there on the entry, getting onto the AstroTurf and losing traction, so Peter was able to stay ahead. Was able to catch up to Peter and Emma again though, and David Bartlett as well, so it's 4 cars trained here heading on to the final lap into turn 1. Peter was a bit cautious there, I thought, and I was going to go for a move down the inside but decided to back out of it. But on the exit he hits that puddle. I don't know how he hits it, but I've never seen a car react like that before, and he's sent off the track. So we get one move there at least. As we fast forward ahead then through turn 3, I don't know what happened with the footage there, but Sylvie Barrett is after catching up to us. He gets a really good exit. We're side by side heading into the final 2 corners, and unlike earlier in the video we were side by side into there, this time on the side to fight it, hold the outside line, which then turns to the inside line for the final corner, and he managed to hold on to that position ahead of Sylvie. Heading up to the line then, he has the slipstream, but luckily the line comes close enough and we're able to finish and hold on to P12. So it was actually P11 then. The relative that I was looking at hadn't updated with that position on the final lap, so finished where we started, and after a very chaotic opening to that race, definitely happy with that result. Obviously not happy with the penalty that I got, and very unfortunate, more so for Kevin Joyce, because he was the one that was affected most because of that, and never want to ruin somebody else's race from your own mistake. Up at the front, Dylan McClemon's taken another win, so 2 wins out of 3 here tonight, showing what he is made of and why he is leading the standings. Then Sean McGoldrick and Peter McCann getting a very good third place there as well, also with a penalty, which is unfortunate for him. And then in the standings, as I mentioned, Dylan McClemens leading the way with a pretty sizable lead after 2 rounds for RTA standards, 49 points ahead of Conor Melia. Then Sean McGoldrick moving up into the top 3. As for myself, the lofty heights of P4 are no more, back down to more familiar territory in P13, only gaining the 2 points in this round because of the 30-point penalty. So without that, still would have been up in, I believe it's P7. So the pace is still kind of there, just unfortunate with the penalties in this round, and hopefully try and bounce back at the next round in Donington. A track that, even though it has been in the RTA calendar a couple of times, it's one that I've never raced at before because it always comes up either when I can't make it or I've just decided to take it as my drop round. So looking forward to hopefully racing it next week. So looking forward to hopefully making it. So looking forward to hopefully racing it next week, unless something else comes up and I have to miss it once again. But that is it for this video. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this Formula V RTA season. But until then, thanks for watching and see you then.